in the height of our third wave in the US, 2 people were dying a minute. So imagine the lives, if you could save those lives, you could save 95% of those lives. That was the burden in this moment. And so having to grapple consistently with that was certainly beyond what any human being on earth is required to do. The sequence that we use inside of the vaccine is simply this protein that sits on the surface of a coronavirus. It's called the spike protein. And so basically what these vaccines, both Pfizer's and Moderna's, do is they send a message to your cells to make the spike protein. The reason why we say, oh, we designed that spike protein is because over the past 6 years, now actually 6.5 years, we'd come up with a way of understanding how to make this spike protein sequence really good as a vaccine. We had basically pre-planned this entire orchestration where we were going to run a basically I told you so demonstration project on how we could create a really good vaccine really quickly in the case of a pandemic. And because we'd worked on the pandemic preparedness for coronaviruses for so long, it was just something that you do scientifically without any idea that this would turn into some massive global pandemic where the vaccine actually fulfills this really dire need. And the plan was to design the sequence of the vaccine in collaboration with Moderna, to have them manufacture that vaccine in what's called GMP production, which means basically very good material that you can put into a human, and then to go into a phase 1 clinical trial in 100 days or less. And that would be the world record for going into a phase 1 clinical trial after a sequence was released, but also would prove that having such a large body of research available prior to a pandemic really helped to fuel what is called rapid vaccine development. I think I realized that we had a product that would be essential to transforming vaccinology when we got our first animal data in. It was so clear that the immune responses were through the roof. If it weren't to work in a human, at least to some extent, I think that everyone would have been very shocked. And so at that moment, it was like, oh my God. Once those numbers came out, once those data came out, it was just opened the floodgates for the entire, COVID-19 vaccine sphere portfolio across the globe. The only time that I ever kind of really realized it and just sat in it was when the efficacy results came out for Pfizer. 91% efficacy means that you could literally end this thing. I think that what the alarms are is that, as what you've been seeing with the Biden administration now donating vaccines to other countries, is that we need to get the world on our level so that we can, number one, stop the variants from entering this country, and get to a place where there is some steady state level of confidence in herd immunity, right? So the country probably will be at herd immunity, 80% of the population vaccinated, give or take, end of summer, beginning of fall. Right now, that question, the overarching real question is around when and how, if and when and how we would give booster shots. So for all the people who already got their 2 doses of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine or the 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, do we need a boost? And if so, when? How are we going to do that? Is it going to be the original vaccine, or is it going to be another sequence that is from, one of these isolates that's circulating around the world right now? I think the general consensus is that we probably will want to boost people, especially the elderly, where they have a more tendency to just get sick, right? More sick from the virus. But when that is, and how we're planning to, and like what type of booster you would want to give is really not anything that anyone knows right now. I knew that I wanted to go off and get a PhD. I didn't necessarily know what field. I didn't necessarily know where. So that was one of the worries for me, especially given some of the things that was happening with my family at the time when I was in undergrad, was like how far, how close, and like how crippling maybe that would be. But the only thing that you can do in undergrad to prepare yourself for graduate school is to be the best that you can be in undergrad around your grades and making sure that you are getting internships and having a competitive application. And I think all encompassing in the way that you drive your career forward is remembering the things that are very much exciting to you. It's really critical, especially when you are building your career, and it's to build your emotional intelligence as you're building all of the book smarts that college gives you, right? Building your emotional intelligence is very, very important. One of the things that I kind of vowed to myself in the beginning of this all is that I would not change who I am. Because imagine having to, do all of what was on my plate, but then also pretend to be a completely different person. And so I'm who I am. I like stiletto nails and big hair, and I lean in conversations like this. I am who I am. And I just allow my data to speak for itself in the academic rooms, and I allow my empathy and like my faith and all those things to speak for myself, to speak for me in the community atmosphere. I think that you just have to realize, like, I'm doing the best that I can. And that's one thing that my dad always said too. He said, I don't care what you're going to do, what you do, just make sure that you're the best at it. And you don't want to get to the point of where you're your senior year and you are regretful for not doing something that was certainly within your capability. Diversity comes in so many different flavors, and inclusion comes in so many different flavors, and belonging comes in so many different flavors, that you almost have to just set a widespread tone and force people to get with the program. It's hard, but I think that what happened with me is certainly a case study across the board, where a white man, quite frankly, Dr. Graham is a white man, opened up his lab to me with little experience, a Black girl from North Carolina, just all these things, and continue to invite me back for internship after internship, guided me through the progression of my career. And in the onset of this moment, he said, I know what you are just like scientific lead, but he literally said to me, I'm going to give you as much as you can bear. If it's too much, you let me know. And then the next day I was transformed from a research fellow, scientific lead, to being on calls with the World Health Organization in the middle of a global pandemic. My hope is that we get to this place where everyone is everyone's brother or sister, and the love just kind of transcends throughout the atmosphere. And it's just this place where people human better.